And what I could never get over was that in this huge butter mountain, and I don't think that was just about butter. You know, the Brits are famous for putting butter on everything. But it wasn't just about butter. It was just this huge collection, this huge mountain of food that could not be used, and because of the economics of the world, could not be given away. You know, isn't it a wonderful sin that we take for granted everything that we have, and yet the reality is that 2/3 of the world goes without? How greedy sometimes we have become. You know, I've know that economically there have to be a certain percentage of folks who are unemployed or who are underemployed. And I don't know if you know any of this, but I share this with you as a point of knowledge that economically it works for the government to have people who are unemployed. Because if we were all in full employment, for one reason or another, there is an economic equation that says that if we were all employed, the government wouldn't have what it needs to keep the haves and the have-nots in their place. Isn't that an incredible reality, that there is an investment that we make in making sure that certain percentage of the population go without work or go or live on the poverty line? You see, this is a system of greed. It's a system of keeping people in their place. I think about the places around the world who have nothing. Think about what's happened in Haiti. Think about the Chilean folks right at this very moment. You know, last evening at MCC in the Valley, we had a fundraiser for people living with HIV and AIDS in Haiti. Now, people were asking us, well, why is that? And the reality is that the Red Cross, who usually do most of the aftermath work in some of these most disastrous areas, don't put on their list of emergency medications HIV and AIDS medications. Because it's not seen as a priority. Well, how sad is it that out of our greed, we think that some people don't need those vital medications. Do you hear what I'm trying to say this morning? It's about this system that we have bought into, this system that we are a part of, and sometimes the system that we have no knowledge of. And I want to challenge us this morning, if we don't know some of these systems, it's really incumbent upon us not to bury our heads in the sand, but to let them raise themselves up and to see the circumstances of life and the circumstances that some people have to live under. Last evening we raised money to make sure that folks in Haiti get the necessary medications that they need just to stay alive. But what about the greed in our own country? What about the greed of the health industry? You know, we're trying at the moment to find a place in which we can have universal health care. But the reality is that the insurance companies have a vested interest in making sure that there is not universal health care for all people, because their profits will go down.
Right.
You know, I come from a country where we have universal health care, and we're a tiny little country. You know, we're this big compared to America. But it seems amazing to me that we can have that universal health care. And people say to me, well, you don't get health care at the point of need. I want to tell you, whenever I needed health care, I would always get it at my local hospital or at my doctor's surgery. Your universal health care is possible. It's expensive. But I don't think it's as expensive as I figure out how much insurance I've been paying for health care since I've been in the United States of America. Now, I have to say I've benefited from it. You know, most of you know, a year ago I fell off my bicycle. I have to say bicycle because when I say bike, people assume it's like a motorbike, and that sounds much, much butcher, so I have to be really clear these days. But I fell off my bicycle, and you know, the insurance companies send me the copies of how much the bill is. That's not billed to me. Of course, it's billed to my insurance company. But I've got a list. I was shocked when I started to add up how much this elbow has cost the health insurance system. I'm up over $100,000 on repairing my elbow. The amount of money that they charge just for one night's stay in a hospital is astronomical. I don't know how people who don't have health insurance manage their health.
Right.
See, it's all about greed.
Right.
It's all about how we have contained our wealth to make sure that some have and some don't have. And I really think that that is what this scripture is pointing to this morning for us, is about the way in which we have tried to serve both God and money, or God and mammon. How we have tried to create a system where we have those who have and those who don't have. And the system that Jesus tries to bring to us is a system where we take our resources and we share them equally amongst one another. Now, I know some people are going to say, well, Reverend Thomas, you're preaching communism this morning. But I think that Jesus was a bit of a radical.
All right. That's
And I think that Jesus was radical enough that even though we may not accept communism as a concept today, but I think that Jesus bordered very, very close to a communistic kind of approach to the system of making sure that all had equal access and all had equal advantage and all were together. Isn't that what Jesus preaches when he said, when you get together as community, put everything in the middle. Don't keep something back for yourself. Put everything in the middle and let people take what they need in order that there may be a full and equal service across the brothers and sisters of God. I remember just this week, and I'm very proud to say that we're a church that believes in social ministry, social activism. There was one preacher who said this week that we need to be fearful of churches that get themselves involved in social Christian action. I want to tell you, that's all I find in Scripture. That's all I find over and over again is Jesus calling us to social action. It's about changing the world, not by our notions of greed, but our notions of generosity. How many of us have tried to serve money only to find out that money eventually takes over us? And with such a plight to get more and more and more and more.